All right, guys, moment of truth. We've got the 61 Super on the workbench here. We've got it connected to the current limiter in a Variac just off screen over here. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and fire it up for the first time. So we've done a ton of work, replaced all of the electrolytics in it. We got the original Astrons in here still. A little worried about those. We'll see how that fares. We also did a 3-prong swap, a screen grid resistor, and probably forgetting something else. This connection came undone. Yada yada. We have not fired it up yet. We did not fire it up when we first got it because it was all original and you don't want to risk that. But I believe the owner did play it a little bit before shipping it to me, if I remember correctly. So in theory, it should work. No problem. We've got no tubes in it right now. We're just going to go ahead and just first fire it up, get some voltage through it, make sure we're seeing voltage, and then we'll slowly start adding in tubes. It is connected here, the speaker cab. This is going to my Vibralux cab since he just shipped me the head, which is a 2x10, same setup 4-ohm output. So with that, let's go ahead and we'll flip it on, keep it in standby. We did check the fuse as well, and it is the correct, I believe, 3 amp. Yeah, 3 amp fuse. So everything is looking good visually. So we'll go ahead and slowly bring up the voltage with the Variac. And I've got the multimeter connected here to the black lead going to the primary, the power transformer to confirm we're getting AC voltage, and we are. So that's good news. So now that that's confirmed, we can go ahead and switch this back over to see if we're getting, I guess we could go here and see what negative bias we're getting. Let me check the schematic to remind myself what is looking to have. Oh, that's right. This has a completely different bias setup. I totally forgot about to mention this before. I did in the very first video of this series, but the original 6G4 Super, which is what this is, would have had, and I'll show you guys on camera here, would have had 2 bias caps and a 56K resistor and a 15K resistor between the 2 bias caps to balance them. And this one does not. This actually has what appears to be a bias board from a Deluxe, a 6G3. So totally different setup, 100K diode, and then you've got a 43K, and then the capacitor there. So we're actually kind of flying blind here, but I can see the original was looking for negative 55 volts. So we'll probably start there, and we are using 5881s in this this amplifier. But yeah, I forgot to mention, this is totally different than the, this is a very weird amplifier to where, you know, it's kind of a one-off. I don't know, maybe more of those had those, but I think it's fairly rare if they did. But everything's looking good so far. So we're now up to about 50 volts. So we're negative 62 at 120. Yeah, so everything's looking good so far. Current limiter, obviously, there's no tubes in it or anything. And then grab a rectifier tube, and we'll slowly start adding tubes in here. So we've got a whole swath of tubes from the owner here. These are, I believe, all of the original tubes. Just an amazing set. And then we also have some 5881s here, some more RCA 5881s. And then we also have, I believe this was another rectifier tube. Yep, so this is a GZ34. Let's pop that out real quick. Yeah, look at that. Another beautiful RCA made in Great Britain GZ34. So, yeah, this amp is loaded with incredible tubes, which is pretty sweet. And I think we'll go ahead and start with the original GZ34, and then we'll kind of go from there. So our bias voltage is stabilized around negative 57 at 120 volts, and the schematic called for negative 55, so we're very, very close to what the creators intended. So to check these two for leaky voltage, I've shown how to do it before, but we do have to lift the legs. We want to kind of check and see how leaky the Astrons are. So we're getting 0.04 volts, so not terrible. I mean, obviously you want 0, but that's not terrible. And just to show what a properly functioning cap would show, should show 0. You can see it shows 0. Just gonna just kind of go along here and see what's what. That one's fine. Worth noting too, when you see leaky voltage, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the cap either. It could very well be, you know, the eyelet has some moisture in it or whatever. So We're not too concerned with any of this yet. 0.1 volts. And again, just to show, this should be 0 and 0. It is. But again, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the cap itself. As mentioned, it could be something in the eyelet. Okay, so now I feel pretty safe about grabbing some power tubes, and we'll quickly try and we'll bring up the current limiter, make sure everything looks okay. We're getting some output. We'll put the preamp tubes in as well, and then once that's confirmed, we'll take the current limiter out of chain, and then we'll check the bias, and then kind of go from there. Put in the new provided 5881s from the owner since they were supposedly tested and tested good. So we'll kind of use those as our baseline versus the unknown quantity. So I'm going to go ahead and flip it on. We've got the Variac off right now. Let me pull up our bias calculator from the Robinette website. We can see the bulb is lit, but very dimly, which is exactly what we want. All right, let's go ahead and test the other. Pretty good, actually. Awesome. All right, that's a good place to be. But this all looks very good. The only exception would be that we're not getting anything on here. Okay, something to figure out. But everything's looking good. We'll undo the current limiter, and we'll figure out the bias another way. All right, this keeps happening to me, and I don't know why. But this just all of a sudden turned on when I took the current limiter out of chain and plugged it back on, or turned the amp back on. I didn't change anything with this, so I think we'll be able to get it without having to do the more dangerous method. So I think we're okay. So go back to our Robinette calculator here, 5881s. We'll go ahead and flip it off of standby. And we are showing 484 volts and a plate current of 18. And that gives us 37.9, so about 40%. So we're slightly cool, but that's not bad at all. Certainly within a safe level. So we're very happy with that. So let me make a note of this. 17, 18. So we're roughly 35%. So reminder, this one we were at 484.17. So this one we're at 485.12, somewhere in the 25% range. Okay, so that gives us a good baseline for when we make this adjustable, get the bias to be adjustable bias, where we add a little trim pot here. So that's no big deal, but I want to go ahead and plug a guitar into it, and let's get our first kind of sound from the amp. And also see if the trem works. Let me grab a shorting RCA jack. All right, this thing sounds sick. It seems to be working pretty well actually. I mean, it's got some little things here and there for sure. We haven't cleaned the pots yet. There's definitely going to be a lot of small, tedious work I think needing to be done to this thing. But overall, I'm really impressed. No, it sounds great. The harmonic trem, I was confused at first. Normally, you need a shorting jack on the blackface area to get them going, but it seems like it's the opposite. They're actually always on, and then to turn them off is when you use the vibrato pedal, whereas the blackface era is the opposite. So yeah, it's good to go. It's sounds great. Sounded super lush and pretty. I've never heard one before, so I don't really know how deep they're supposed to go, or how fast they're supposed to go. It seems like it's got plenty of slowdown and speed available. Depth seemed fine to me, though I had it max, but that could just be a quirk of it too, where they just never were that over deep. Like this to me is totally usable. Some amps can get very choppy to where it's almost like that Green Day sound, where it's a square wave, and I don't really like that. This does not do that. But again, I've never used harmonic trem in an amp before. So anyways, we're in a really good spot, actually. Again, there's going to be a lot of little tedious work, I think, to kind of finalize and get all the little pops and crackles out and whatnot. Seeing things I definitely want to check more. We'll have to lift some of the legs on some of the caps to check for leaky voltage. I probably want to redo the balance resistors for the heaters here. This one in particular looks pretty charred, but it's actually pretty silent with the amp off, or sorry, the guitar off. It's pretty silent. It's got a couple, little pops and cracks here and there, but that is honestly to be expected with something like this, and we'll do our best to get rid of it. So with that, I think we'll probably end here because I'm gonna have to do a lot more diving in off camera, but thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and until next time, see ya.